Fed President Kevin Warsh just came out and gave his statement on what it's going to be like under the new Federal Reserve regime. Guys, in this video, I want to talk about exactly why the market is selling off, because it's actually missing something that is so important for the future of cryptocurrency and specifically XRP. In this video, I want to talk about something that Kevin Warsh said that he was going to change, that I believe is extremely bullish moving forward. Guys, in this video, we're going to take a look at that, as well as something absolutely shocking coming out of Ripple that I didn't think we would ever see again. Guys, make sure to stick around for that. You are not going to want to miss it. Like always, your support means so much to the channel. Thank you to everyone who likes and subscribes. And with that said, let's jump right into it. And I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to jump into the video and first talk about the Federal Reserve meeting that we just had. Guys, this was actually Kevin Warsh's first meeting, and Kevin Warsh was specifically appointed by Trump, in my opinion, to lower interest rates. Now, Kevin Warsh is the chair of the Federal Reserve, but he can't directly control that. Ultimately, he's just a single voting member on the Fed, but he has the capabilities to influence the other members. Now, today went essentially as expected in terms of no change happening. I thought this was always probably going to be the case because ultimately, he can't just get into office and start rubber stamping Trump's agenda. That might look a little fishy and create a lot of backlash. But Kevin Warsh did say something that I believe the market completely overlooked that I believe is massively bullish. And that is that he wants to maybe look at different ways of calculating inflation to potentially be more accurate. Now, guys, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with being more accurate. At the end of the day, the Federal Reserve is going to choose whatever metrics they want to fit their narrative. There's a million different ways you can calculate inflation, because you can take a look at the inflation associated with consumer goods, right? Things like TVs, things like electronics. And those things generally are plummeting over time because we have better technology to produce these things faster and cheaper. But then you can take a look at something like housing, and that typically goes up rapidly. The United States and the United States Federal Reserve have a choice of creating the inflation buckets, creating the inflation metrics. And I fundamentally believe that they can cherry pick whatever numbers they want to represent whatever they want to see. So I believe Kevin Warsh coming out and saying, hey, we might change the metrics we're looking at to calculate inflation is all but telling us that he wants to make it so there is a narrative for him to cut rates into. I believe going into the back end of Trump's term, we are likely going to be at significantly lower interest rates than we are now. And even the other Federal Reserve voting members have indicated that as well. So guys, while the market is selling off on some of the things that Warsh said that weren't directly telling the market, hey, I'm going to slash interest rates, the truth is there's only one reason why he would be changing the metric that the Federal Reserve uses to report on inflation. And that's likely because he doesn't think the current metric is going to give him the data he needs to administer the policy that he wants. The policy that he wants, the policy that he was selected to put in place, was low interest rates. So I believe Kevin Warsh coming out and saying, hey, we're going to be looking at a different inflation metric likely means that he's doing so to back the narrative that the Federal Reserve needs to lower interest rates. And just to say, guys, it's not like it's one of those things where that would be totally unprecedented, it's totally out of cycle or anything like that. These things go in cycles. We typically go from low interest rates to high interest rates to low interest rates to high interest rates. As many of you know, we just came off a high interest rate regime. We've already started coming down. Every single time before in history you've seen something like this, we go to low interest rates. So I believe it just falls into play with everything we're seeing. But just understand, the Fed president coming out and saying, oh, we're actually going to be changing how we're calculating inflation. Why else would they be doing that? I guarantee you it's not to make inflation higher. Let's move on though, guys. I want to talk about something actually pretty shocking that we just saw out of Ripple. And that is, it looks like Matt Damon, co-founder of Water, a now Ripple payments user, is going to be going to Ripple Swell. Now, guys, back in the day, Ripple was absolutely massive in terms of their celebrity presence. But essentially, I think they got too popular. I think too many people were talking about Ripple and XRP. The regulatory environment wasn't there yet. They were worried about all the attention they were getting and essentially had to back off the celebrity endorsements. I remember actually back way in the day, Ripple was actually on the Ellen show. They were talking to Ask. It was all these really high profile celebrities all talking about Ripple and XRP. And then suddenly it all disappeared. I have a feeling it had to do with the Ripple SEC case, but guys, I think we're actually going to see this come back in a really big way. And it's not to say that I believe this is super important for XRP or the utility, but ultimately, and I've talked about this a lot before on different podcasts, I do believe a lot of what investing is a popularity game. I think you can't have an investment that's successful without people knowing about it. Some of the best performing assets are some of the most popular, things like Tesla, things like Apple, things like Nvidia. And I do believe that the more Ripple can get in the mind share of the public, the more XRP can become a household name, the more people who can become interested with XRP through people and association with celebrities. I actually think it's actually something that's extremely bullish as long as we have strong fundamentals. Now, I talk about the fundamentals all the time, but one of the things I really like is Evernorth is really starting to back up some of these fundamentals, coining a new term called the swap kid. Essentially, where XRP is this invisible liquidity tool sitting between assets, acting as the swap kid or the liquidity to transfer between one asset to another instantaneously without any counterparty risk. Now, this use case, this utility, is something that is immensely powerful. It's an immensely deep narrative, and one of my favorite parts is it doesn't just have to do with the XRP ledger itself, it has to do with the underlying token. This deep utility, this deep narrative, this actual understanding of the use case of the token, other than just like governance or other than just like, oh, well, it's to fundraise, I think that's immensely powerful. There's so many projects out there I have taken a lot of time to talk with. I've taken a lot of time to learn about. And guys, some of them even come to me and say, oh, we're not even focused on the token right now. The truth is there are only a very small select amount of tokens that actually have real value. But XRP as neutral, decentralized liquidity between two assets is an immensely powerful narrative. Tokenized T-bills, XRP to Euro stablecoin, Euro stablecoin to XRP to US dollar, Euro stablecoin tokenized to XRP to tokenized treasury bill. Guys, this flow is something that we have never seen before, but creates a massive amount of utility in the concentration and in the efficiency of liquidity. Just understand that while the cryptocurrency market is still getting primed for what institutional adoption looks like, while the cryptocurrency market is still trying to figure out which projects are real and which are not, the truth is the XRP ledger has always positioned XRP in a way that is revolutionary in terms of the asset itself. Take a look at this diagram right here. I think it says it all. This is what the financial system looks like now. A million different liquidity pairs, a million different pairings just to create interoperability versus what the XRP ledger could usher in, which is concentrated XRP liquidity, making every single asset to one another instantaneously. I believe this narrative is extremely powerful. Directly to the token, directly to what is going to cause long-term appreciation. So guys, while I think things like Matt and Damon getting involved to Ripple swell, more eyeballs, more people interested in the project, ultimately, that's a really bad thing if there's not an actual utility there. That's a really bad thing if there's not an actual underlying thesis or an underlying investment. But I believe it is obvious we have one of the most powerful narratives in all of crypto. And therefore, guys, the more high-profile people who want to get in and start spreading the word about XRP, I am perfectly fine with that. I want to finish this video off and just show you guys something happening in the background. Guys, I have been blowing the whistle on MicroStrategy being a problem for quite a bit of time now. And I've made it very clear. I didn't think this was going to be some instantaneous black swan. But guys, one of the last kind of value propositions of MicroStrategy has been their stretch product, their STRC perpetual preferred share. Guys, this thing is supposed to be offering an 11.5% dividend, but right now the preferred shares are being devalued at a clip that's actually extremely fast. Right now, the principal that anyone would invest into this product is currently being deleted faster than the dividend would be being paid out, which is a massive problem for the entire product stack for everything MicroStrategy or strategy is trying to do. It's just something to keep your eyes on. Guys, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories about MicroStrategy being absorbed by the Federal Reserve, being absorbed by the United States government, becoming the treasury for the United States government, the Bitcoin treasury. What I'm seeing is really hard for me to see it ending well. What I see out of MicroStrategy seems to me like something that's going to end poorly. And I would be curious if this is going to be the thing that ultimately marks the bottom of the current bear market. If this is the thing we start to rally off of when it gets solved. There's not a lot of people I've talked with sophisticated knowledge of markets, especially people extremely close to the highest tiers of the crypto industry, who don't think MicroStrategy is a really big problem. A lot of Bitcoin maxis essentially parading them, but there's something going on here. And if there is one thing I would say that makes my stomach feel uneasy in the cryptocurrency market right now, I would say it's this. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a coincidence on why Evernorth hasn't been public yet either. Guys, just something to think about, food for thought. Ultimately, is it going to impact XRP? Absolutely not. But could it cause a little bit short-term dislocation in terms of exuberance and excitement in the market? Just something to watch out for. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. For now, Mickle out.